And thank you for joining me today at Hawkeye's House of Horrors. And I am Hawkeye, and I'm going to bring to you another film review today. And hilariously, I'm not making this up. My cat, Ludo, yes, he's named after a character from Labyrinth. He's actually in this very room hunting for a mouse. So it's kind of interesting that that's going on, and there was a bit of that in this movie I'm going to talk about today, right here in Hawkeye's House of Horrors. Um, so there you have it. I'm going to talk about The Secret of Nim. Um, so this one was directed by Don Bluth, and it was based on a novel. I've never read it, unfortunately. I should have got ahead of the curve here and finally sat down and read it. But I never have gotten to that at this point in life. It's called Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, written by Robert C. O'Brien. And that came out in 1971. Now, the story for the film, it has been given to an uncredited Ken Anderson. Um, Now, he had written many Walt Disney films, including some classics like Cinderella, The Jungle Book, or The Rescuers, just to name a few that he's worked on, as well as Bluth, as well as Will Finn, who worked on Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and he did some Tom and Jerry stuff as well. In the 90s, I think, or early 2000s, as well as Gary Goldman, who worked on All Dogs Go to Heaven and Rock-a-Doodle, and John Pomeroy, who worked on those same films as Goldman. So there was a team of writers here coming together to put together the story they want to get on screen. Now, just to let you know, this was, I think, the fourth time I've seen this film. And perhaps maybe other than the first time seeing it, I kind of knew what was going to happen here. And I kind of dove right into the film. And I really enjoyed it this time. Probably much more than any of the other times I've seen this film. So I really enjoyed it. Now, the first time I saw it, I didn't see it till I was like 17, um, which is interesting because I never came across this when I was a kid, or if I did, I decided to watch something else or do something different. Maybe if it was on TV or on the Channel, even though that probably is unlikely because it's not a Walt Disney film. But I never saw this one as a kid. And then I saw it a couple times with my wife. She really likes this film too. Um, and then I saw it for a fourth time to review the film here. Now, of course, this is an animated film as well. So certainly this is for kids as well. Although there is perhaps some subject matter that the adults can really bite their teeth into, if you will, but it's certainly not an adults only uh, cartoon. Perhaps maybe the very young kids, there are certainly going to be some elements that they enjoy in it, but I don't know, like if really young kids, maybe they would like this. I'm not sure, but like, 5 years old or younger, if they're really going to want to watch this or maybe another cartoon they may want to gravitate more towards. But but yeah, maybe like an older child would certainly like this. Now Bluth, he was an animator at Walt Disney, but he, in the end, in the late 70s, he left and created his own studio, Don Bluth Studios. Um, and along with him, he took some Disney animators along with him. I think like 7 or 8 different animators that came along with him. And this was his very first full-length feature film released by Don Bluth. And as I found out, originally they had worked out of his house and his garage early on before moving into a studio within Studio City, California. but they were actually working right outside of his house to get these projects worked on and completed. Now, as well, just with Don Bluth, a couple of other films that I remember as a kid. These ones I definitely saw as a kid that I remember, and I remember those are not Disney films, like An American Tail or The Land Before Time. Those were films that Don Bluth worked on. Now, this film was released on July the 2nd, 1982, and it was distributed by United Artists. They were the big company behind it. Now, the budget of the film was up to $7 million. It might have been a little less than that. I'll get into this a little bit later. They had to come up with a little bit of their own money to complete it. In today's dollars, that's 2025. That would be a budget of about $23.2 million. And the box office, I think it was just in the United States, if I'm not mistaken, was $14.7 million, or in today's dollars, $48.7 million. So they made their money back plus some, but there was some additional money put in there as well, um, beyond just creating the film, with advertisements and such, on top of just that budget. But they made their money back and then some just on that. But it was actually in the home video market and overseas sales where they really started to turn a profit with this film beyond just the American box office. Now, before I get into the story of the film, I just want to get into the casting. And some of the casting in this film, I think, is terrific. They really used excellent choices, and they really come through the screen. Some of these people, I'm not saying they all don't, but some of them really came out of the screen for me. A few, for example, that I really enjoyed. First off, is the main character. Excuse me, Mrs. Brisby. She's played by Elizabeth Hartman, and you can really feel and hear exactly what the mouse is trying to convey on the screen. I really get it through her delivery in doing the voice for the character. And of course, there is Dom DeLuise as Jeremy the Crow. I found him quite funny. He's goofy, he's clumsy. Um, he really just takes over the scene he's in instantly once he shows up. And I think this may be a character the kids will really love, is Jeremy the Crow. Although I don't put this as a hit to the film, but he literally really has nothing to do with the climax of the film. Although it does lead him to find his love, which is one thing you learn about Jeremy the Crow. He's kind of a lonely guy and just looking for Miss Right. So he finds her at the end of the film, which is great. Um, but he also really has nothing to do with the climax of the film. And I have to mention him. He's a horror legend, and that's John Carradine. He does the voice of the Great Owl, and I think it's terrific just hearing John's booming, ominous voice as the Great Owl is very effective, and I really enjoyed that his performance as the Great Owl. So, to jump into the story a little bit here. So, as I said, the main character is Mrs. Brisby, and I find her to be extremely motherly, which is very important to the story. And really, in the end, she's just a really nice little mouse. Her husband, Jonathan, has passed away, but her one kid, Timmy, is very sick. It's interesting because in my mind instantly I'm like Tiny Tim from A Christmas Carol, but anyways, they use the same name. It's a fairly common name, right, Tim? Um, but her one son, Timmy, is very sick. So she visits Mr. Ages, voiced by Arthur Mallet, and he tells her Timmy has pneumonia and he should not get out of bed for like 3 weeks take this serum that he creates, this medicine, follow these rules, these instructions, and he hopefully should be fine. Problem is, moving day is coming up. And what is moving day? Well, you see, they live on a farm, and the farmer is going to be destroying where they live. And that's going to be in less than 3 weeks. So, oh, we got a big problem here that she needs to solve somehow and keep her little son safe. So, Mrs. Brisby visits the great owl. Um, and in my mind, definitely leading this film to be kind of like a quest or a journey for her to find the solution to this problem. And then the great owl tells her that if you go to the rats, they will be able to move your house for you with Timmy inside and keep him safe. So after she meets up with the rats, you get, I think, my favorite part of the story, and I still remember this the first time I saw this. It was like, ooh, wow, cool. You learn that Mrs. Brisby's husband, Jonathan, was actually trapped in NIMH, and they talk about NIMH. Um, for example, Nicodemus, the wizard rat, talks about Nim and how they're originally from Nim and all this. Really knowing what it is, as well as the farmer gets a call from Nim. They want these rats. Why the heck do they want these rats? Are they like pest control or something like that? Um, you find out that NIM, what it stands for, is the National Institute of Mental Health. And it researches mental disorders to, research. And at the same time, Jonathan, along with other mice and rats, were within them and were part of experiments and actually injected with diseases, I think, um, for the researchers to see what would happen. And what this did to these mice and rats is it totally changed their lives and actually led them on a path to be kind of become a lot more human. And the rats, in fact, need to live with electricity and stuff like that, which is really interesting. And in the end, it allowed them to escape Nim. Unfortunately, some of the mice did die. Many of them did, other than Jonathan and Mr. Ages. But as I said, in the end, lived like the humans do because of these experiments. And that's one thing I really liked about this story. Is it's not exactly going down a well-known, well-traveled path in Storyland. It led me down this path that, it's still great when it happens, the story, and the story still is very interesting. And seeing it now for 4 times, it's still interesting. Now, as I mentioned, some of the mice do die in the story, and within the story, I find death is actually um, woven into the story, much like a Walt Disney classic released, I think the year previous, if I'm not mistaken, and that is The Fox and the Hound. Death is really woven into that story, but it's in this one as well. So we see the rats assist in moving the house, but of course we also are meeting a character named Jenner, voiced by Paul Shenar. And now this character, he's slimy, he cannot be trusted, and in no way does he wish to help Mrs. Brisby and looks to upheave this plan in any which way possible. So he is definitely the villain. So, just further information. Originally, the main character in the film, her name was Mrs. Frisbee, really. But due to Whammo, who owned, you know, Throw the Frisbee, they owned Frisbee and didn't give them the right in using a similar sounding name for this character. So they had to change her name to Brisby instead of Frisbee. Kind of silly. Um, they should have really went for that and released like The Secret of Nim Frisbees or something like that, or I don't know, something to sell frisbees. I don't know. But in the end, it doesn't hurt the film at all because I never read the book and I didn't really know the character under that name at all. Now, the production for this animated feature lasted from January of 1980 to June of 1982. So 30 months. And that was the time frame given to them um, through, I think it was Aurora Productions, in order to get this picture completed. Now, because of this, Walt Disney actually had longer time frames than that to complete a film. I think this film is like 82 minutes long, so it's not super long, but it's not like an hour. It's, got some length to it. Um, so in the end, the artists in the film had to work intense hours due to this shortened time frame. And in the end, they were actually offered a cut of the film's profits um, for this extra time, meaning they didn't have money to pay these guys the overtime that they were putting in. And at this point, and I'm not sure how many times it happened after this, that was something that had never happened before. The artist actually getting a cut of the film's profit. And there were profits to the film, so they were able to get paid for sure. And as I read, producer Gary Goldman, and co-writer, he put in 110-hour weeks during the final 6 months of production, so half a year. Just to let you know, there's 168 hours in a week, so that gives him 70, no, 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 58 hours away from work during a week to, in the very least, sleep and maybe like see your significant other. So not very much time. So he put in crazy weeks, and I'm sure this was just an example. I mean, he wouldn't have been the only one. And as well, homes were mortgaged to put up an extra $700,000 that was needed as they were going over budget with this film, including Don Bluth's or Gary Goldman's house. They were mortgaged to get this extra money needed. Now, I got to talk about the music to the film. I think it is great. It's done by Jerry Goldsmith. And what else would I expect? Um, since doing these reviews, um, he's kind of the one composer that's kind of jumped out to me. And I'm like, whoa, like I really enjoy his scores and his material. And this was the first time he ever did the score to an animated feature. And at times it was tough as he wasn't really getting exactly what's happening or um, perhaps changes to scenes while he was actually in the writing process for the score. But I can't tell that it's bad in any way. It's great. Um, two examples of it to me that were really great are actually when Jeremy the Crow and Dragon the cat, who is the farmer's cat and a villain as well. He wants to eat everything that's out in the field. When those characters are introduced, I think Goldsmith's music aligns so well with what's going on in the film. And then another scene that's great as well is um, when the tractor is storming down, it's moving day. When the tractor is storming down the field to destroy the Brisby's home, the music is loud and intense, excellent. And then when you see sick Timmy laying in bed, kind of rumbling around as the tractor's, getting closer and closer to their home, the music is soft and quiet. Um, yeah, oh, I really thought that was very well done by Goldsmith there. Now, a couple things I read as well. I don't think, I'm not sure where these projects are at this time. But they were going to do a live action remake, kind of like the Chipmunks or the Smurfs, I think, like in that vein. Um, I literally haven't seen either of those films, but it was announced 10 years ago. Nothing's happened. I'm not sure where they are on that. And then a TV show was announced in 2021. But I'm not sure what's going on with that either at that time. Now, there is a sequel to this film called The Secret of Nim 2. Something about Timmy. I've never seen it. It's from the 90s. I'm going to watch it and I will give a review for that at some point. Um, Hopefully later this year for sure. Um, give a review for that one. And I got it. Boom. I got this on DVD. I think I got this at a secondhand store. Saw it. I was like, I got to buy that. And then I've watched it a few times since getting it. There's not really any crazy extras on it, whatever. But that's okay. The film's on it. That's really the most important part, usually. So there you have it. But that was excellent. I definitely recommend this film to any animated or feature or cartoon lovers out there. There's something to be had in this film here. But until next time, have yourself an excellent day.